Good evening and welcome to this final 2020 edition of the Island Stat Sports Show. I'm your host, Earl Basin, and joining me is none other than Jason Juggling J. Ford, and we are joined by, in this capacity, the Shadow Minister of Sport for Bermuda, Ben Smith. First of all, Jay, last show, we have several guests lined up. We do anticipate the Minister of Sport coming on as well, but final show.
This year's going by so fast. But, you know, I know you've got some surprises for me because you seem to always leave out who's actually coming on the show. Just for some reason, I thought I was a co-host. We have Ben here, Smith, but I'm pretty sure you even tell Ben what's going on. You don't even tell me, so I'm just.
Well, you see. I figured I might as well wear my light blue in between you two reds.
Well, see, Ben, that's why we wore our band. We wore our red today, right, Ben?
We know. He knows what teams that he should be supporting.
See, his stuttering. He can't even get it out.
Yeah, I might stutter, but the team never stutters.
Trust me, 2021 it'll be a stutter step, and over. But Ben,
you better hope it gets canceled.
Again.
Oh, you're hoping it's canceled?
No, you are hoping.
Listen, I want to play it every year.
Okay.
Every year. Because the time you're having now, I've had my turn.
That's true.
Yeah. But Ben, in your capacity as the Shadow Minister for Sport, I know we're looking to turn the corner in 2021, but a message from you in your capacity regarding 2021 and 2020 in sports and then 2021.
Well, 2020 has been a trying year for everybody in sports. Obviously, anybody that is excited about sports worldwide, but specifically in Bermuda, this has just been a very difficult year. Many of our major events have either been postponed or canceled. We went through a period where it looked like we were actually going to be able to have proper seasons happen. And now we've gone back with the gathering size going down. More things have been canceled. So it's been really frustrating. But at the same time, we're looking forward to hopefully seeing some things happen in 2021 that'll get us back on track.
Yeah. Well, now Jason's going to change the hat because now as the national swimming coach, where do you see the sport? Well, obviously we have to wait until we get whatever from the government regarding a resumption of sports. But obviously you have a tall order as well because there's Carifta Swimming Championships that didn't happen this year because we're still in 2020. CCCAN, the whole light. And we still have, knocking on the door, Olympic qualifiers.
So really where we are, just before we reached this point where we started to go back to cutting back our gathering sizes, we had our first championship meet for the year, right? So the winter age groups saw us have the ability to have a 4-day competition. We had lots of fast swims. People were actually performing well and looking forward to what was going to happen next. So we were excited to have a long course meet coming up, and then lo and behold, everything gets canceled. Really where we are, we haven't been able to even set a calendar that says, a month from now, we're going to do a competition with the thoughts that potentially we're going to be able to go to a Carifta, go to a CCCAN. Everything is being negotiated, but at the moment, I just don't see how you can safely take a team anywhere until we have a large portion of the population that is either vaccinated or the cases have gone down in the region. I don't think it's possible for us to be able to compete at that level. The hardest thing so far has been to keep the athletes motivated to be training towards something when we don't know what that something is.
Yeah. Well, I do see, and we're going to allow him to join, Minister of Sport. Good evening, Dr. Peets. Just take it off of mute. There you go. Good evening, sir.
Hey, good evening. Thank you so much. I appreciate the invitation. It's good to be here.
Yes. Now, as the Minister of Sport, I welcome you to wish Bermuda all the best for 2021 and any thoughts on 2021 as well as this year going by 2020.
Yeah, 2020, of course, it's been a very interesting year for all of us, not just Bermuda, but around the world. The pandemic has changed the landscape for sport and recreation. In some cases, has halted sport altogether. But one thing I've learned, at least from my colleagues here in Bermuda, my friends and neighbors, is that we have the ability to adapt. And our national sporting bodies, our coaches, our clubs have adapted. And we're looking forward to 2021 and the resumption of sport as we know it. However, we're still going to have to make sure that we do so in a manner that's safe. So God willing, we can see large sporting events next year, hopefully. We can get back to the types of sporting events that we're used to. So that's my hope, and that's my prayer for 2021.
Yeah, I know Jason up in the corner had his eyes raised when you came on with that big Arsenal.
Yeah, actually, I don't think I can take the Arsenal flag out in public. So it remains safely affixed to my wall on my office.
Ministers, let's talk about the elephant in the room for 2021. Obviously, with this pandemic, it's been a definitely economic crisis around the world. And as we know, once these economic crises hit major countries, the sports and arts ministries normally take a hit. Obviously, we're very optimistic about getting back to some type of normalcy as far as events, but obviously funding is going to play a major role in that. And obviously with the government going to be strapped with money, how are we looking to budget ourselves or even find some other revenue that's going to offset some of these costs, not only just to have the events, but also these extra costs that are being associated with COVID?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, in a lot of cases, sometimes when there is a restriction in available funding, some of the core programming around sports and recreation sometimes do take a hit. I was very interested to learn that the national sporting bodies also have incurred additional COVID costs. So not only has COVID restricted funding, but COVID has also introduced other ancillary costs to get things going. So that's something we're mindful of. Of course, everyone here in the ministry is passionate about sports. We certainly understand how important it is to the fabric of the community and what makes us feel good about ourselves as it relates to being outdoors and enjoying sports that we love. So here in this office, there is an advocate for the sporting body. So my job is to try to advocate for the sporting bodies as best as possible so that our elite athletes, as well as our clubs and the sports that we enjoy, continue to move forward.
Well, gentlemen, from us here at Island Stats and this sports show, we want to wish you all the best in 2021. We know both of you is going to have a tough job because obviously you, Dr. Pete, have to please, and you, Ben, have to keep your foot on the pedal. But I know you guys do it in the best interest of everyone within the country, and we want to wish you all the best, and we would always welcome you back here at any time you have to share a message or you want to share a message, get a message out. We welcome you back here on this show and allow you the opportunity to speak to the sporting public as well as the public at mass. So I want to wish you all the best in 2021.
Thank you
Absolutely.
so much, Earl. I just want to take the opportunity to thank Dr. Pete. We've actually had a couple of conversations specifically about how we can come up with some ideas for the funding. So I'm looking forward to 2021, how we can come up with some collaborative ideas of how we can fix that particular issue, because it's been a long-standing issue prior to the pandemic hitting. But yes, we will be sitting down to discuss that.
Sports lottery.
Stop whispering, Jay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, gentlemen. We'll be back with more Island Stats Sports Show after this message from our sponsors.
Perrier water has been renowned worldwide for over a century and a half. Collected from a pristine ancient mineral water spring in the south of France, originally bottled in a distinctive green pear-shaped bottle, and distributed in Bermuda by John Barry & Son Limited, our foremost beverage distributor, Refreshing Perrier is the champagne of mineral waters. Try Perrier water in bold, natural fruit flavors with no added sugar and 0 calories. This month, we're featuring peach, strawberry, watermelon, orange, pink grapefruit, lime, cucumber, and regular Perrier water in cans. Lindos, why go anyplace else?
Well, Jay, we've got a chance to hear from both the Minister of Sport, Dr. Peets, and the Shadow Minister for Sport, Ben Smith, and we know it's going to be a tough task. And even, I mean, you and I have talked in length about such of a sports lottery, and we know that won't happen overnight. The amount of laws that would have to be written, changed, updated, and so forth. But hopefully we can see some sort of extra funding, if that be any possibility, or any, just maintain the funding for sports, as it touches just about every single household in Bermuda, regardless of where you sit. It could be a cousin.
But that's the thing, Earl, we're biased because that's, we're from the, but we know the value of sport. We know the value of what it does for families. We know the value of what it does for a person, whether it's character, whether it's discipline, all the things that you need to be successful in sport and arts. We know how valuable it is for the individual, whether it's female or male. And so it's not just, as some people say, fun and games. We know the success of our stories. We know the success of our elite athletes, and I think the more we value our story, we value our elite athletes, we value what we can produce in this small island. How many guests have we had on this island as far as sports, Earl, and say we actually punch above our weight?
Oh, repeatedly.
So the athletes know, the sports administrators know. Now we've just got to hopefully encourage, and even if it's not a sports lot, it has to be something creative. It has to be something that's gonna offset some of these costs, because the world's going one way, and we're not going to go anywhere if we don't come up with a solution.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, we like you said at the beginning, we're biased. I know there will be a lot of people out there that would say something different, but we're open to the conversation, and the only way to make a change is to have a conversation.
That's it. Let's get the stakeholders on the round table, and let's see what is, because it might be some things that it just might not be obtainable. Okay. Let's have that conversation.
Right.
So once again, if we have that conversation, then then it gives us opportunity to look at another avenue.
Right.
But let's explore that up, because if Earl, and I hate to say this here, but we heard the same conversation or the same answers when we heard about decriminalization of marijuana. Well, 10 years ago, that was not gonna ever happen.
Right. And here we are.
But then those conversations were had. Okay, delegalizations in America and Canada, and remember, it was never gonna happen. Then it was just Colorado, and then
once the door gets open, mate, and the horse peeks his head out, it's over.
But it started with the conversation, and even that, where did some of that money go towards?
Oh yeah,
to these programs, to different programs that the government wasn't able to facilitate. So,
right.
And I think, to be honest with you, I think the recession actually sped that process up.
Right. Well, we're waiting for our next guest to join us. We were due to have the hockey president. We are waiting on the president of Eastern Counties, because obviously that's that did not take place this year, and we want to get an update as to what could possibly happen in 2021. What's in the for them, and we take it from there. But 2020, like we've all said, it's been difficult for everyone.
Yeah.
It's been a challenge for everyone, and we do have the president of Eastern County, Mr. Stephen Douglas, Good evening, Mr. Douglas. How are you?
Good evening, Mr. Basin and Mr. Ford. How you guys this evening?
Good evening, sir.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we know the second largest cricket event in Bermuda on an annual basis did not take place in 2020, but you have made some provisions for 2021. How are those things shaping up? Because obviously you have to have things in place early, despite where we stand right now. You have, with the pandemic, you have to have plans in place in order to move forward if you're going to have your 3 matches this year or 2021.
Yeah, hopefully we can, first of all, like say season's greetings to everyone. Hope everyone's had a good holiday thus far and looking forward to a better 2021. We are hoping that we can get things running like we know. If those of you have been watching cricket down there in New Zealand, you will see that the crowds are there at the game. So there's very few. There's very few in Australia, but we're hoping that if the country gets back on this, on good terms with the vaccines and everything, then we can get back to normal, and we should be back like we were in the past. Otherwise than that, it may have to do a lot of different things, which we have to share with the executives and the membership first, and see how we make it work in the area there.
Yeah. Now, I can't remember where 2020 was supposed to be, and I think you have, what's that?
Bay Club.
Bay Club. Okay. Have they done anything?
What's it from, Jason?
Sorry.
No, when you have an elder on the show, sometimes you got to remind him what it's actually trying to say. So I knew he was trying to look for Bay Club in his mind, and because it's a St. George's person, sometimes he goes cross Bay, and he doesn't really. See this. The rare collar doesn't. You know what I'm. Come on, this Douglas. You know what I'm saying? When you were rare, sometimes be distracted.
Mr. Douglas is neutral. He gives you out. He'll give you out. Okay. But obviously, no, without having the matches this year, the last time I was at Bay, it looked like they hadn't done anything. And have you had talks with Bay about their wicket? I know they were talking about doing some work to it. There was some talk last year. They had a sinkhole or something on the field as well. How are things looking up?
Well, we did speak to them earlier, and they, like normal, they said they had it all on the hand. We would do it. We go back to them again in January and see where it's at and take it from there. It means just as much to the clubs. To the clubs as it means to the Eastern County. So they know the value of it all. So like everything else, it comes together at the end of the day. Somehow it works out.
Right. Jay?
Mr. President, obviously we've seen tournaments when they first started up during this pandemic, not having any fans. Is that an option for 2021? If we're restricted as far as crowds, is that an option for Eastern County?
All options are out there, on the table. We had to look at it. It's, as you know, I think to put things in perspective, when people see games like the India playing in Australia right now, or you saw earlier this year West Indies in England, the broadcast rights is really funding is, and that's why. And I think if England didn't play that series of West Indies and Pakistan,
they lost
more, like 300,000, 300 whatever it was $1 million. Right?
Yeah.
And I think the similar thing applies with Australia and India, the amount of millions they will lose. So we don't have that yet in Bermuda, where the broadcasters put that type of funding into the competition, so that which would allow us to do these games that are being done like in the rest of the world. If that was to be, then we can do that.
Well, We know the challenges that everybody faces as far as not only putting on a game, but actually producing a game and what it takes. I know everybody has their thoughts and their ideas and how it could actually work out. But again, it's a matter of a conversation, an early conversation, and not just let's have a conversation this year for this year to get it done this year. We can have a conversation this year to talk about what we can do in 3 years' time to make sure that you have everything you need, the broadcasters have everything they need, and then you work out a partnership. I think we make the mistake in Bermuda too many times of let's do the deal for this year, racing to do a deal, and we do it, and it's nowhere near what one would have thought it would be when the inception was set around. I just think we need to plan ahead and get things done on those terms.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I follow cricket internationally every day. I got up this morning. I thought Pakistan had pulled it off, and they didn't pull it off. But when I went to bed, they were looking good.
Yeah, as you know, 1 over could change the whole game.
Yes. I was looking at. I can't wait to see the next game between India and Australia. That's because Australia came back in the first test and India came back in this test. So I look at all those games. I go on the various websites to see what other developing countries are doing, like Emerging Cricket, Cricket Europe, CricBuzz, and different sites like that there. And then I also go and watch what other the other different countries are doing, the Malaysians, the Singapores, and everybody, to see how the Guernseys, the Jerseys, to see how what we can do from, if they're doing something from an associate level, which we are at, what could we do also to develop the game here? And so, yes, when it comes to the Eastern Continent, sometimes I had to wait until people understand where I'm coming from, because some people, hey, they don't look at cricket like I look at it, but I had to find ways of sharing my ideas of how it's best, for this game to go.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mr. Douglas, I do want to thank you very much for joining us here, and we want to wish you all the best for 2021. Obviously, 2020 has had its challenges for Eastern County. Usually, you guys are making headlines for disputes, but not this year. It's always something. It's always something that comes up.
To be honest to you, it's not dispute. I think the last one we had was Derek Brankman, and I now sit on the cricket board, and I can say back then, if the issue with Derek Brankman's dispute was the cricket board themselves. They didn't. We had an agreement with MOU with them, similar to MOU, but an agreement with them, and they didn't follow up. You know what I mean? And I said, hey, what's happening? If you send us the correspondence, you know how we would react to it. The Royal Gazette, Island Stats is not the Eastern Continent, and I thought that's what people got to understand, right? You have to give people the courtesy that you expect. So if they sent the correspondence to us, then there wouldn't be no dispute, and it just happens to be that way most of the time that they have slipped it. Now, I hope now that I'm sitting on the table, I can remind us and get this letter out to the right people at the right time so that these things don't happen. And this is the whole idea of the MOU, is to prevent all of that. And it's not just for disciplinary measures, which is what most people think is about. It's more about helping with cricket and growing the cricket in the country, because everybody plays a major role in cricket. The domestic cricket allows for county cup and cup match to be good. I mean, our domestic cricket is bad. The county game ends at 4:30, and the cup match can last until 4:30 also. So we've got to have good league cricket in order for county cricket and cup match to last. And if you look at what's happening next year, if it's okay with you, Mr. Basin, the Bermuda's got a 2020 July, just before cup match. Mm-hmm. And then the under-19s go into a 50-over tournament the middle of August. And then the men go to a 50-over tournament in September. So our cricket has to play to reflect that, and the best we can to prepare our players, because the little monies we get, we just can't, like the Singapores and Malaysia can go hop over. The rest of people can hop over somewhere. The Africans can hop over. The Asians, the East Asian Pacific, and USA and Canada can hop over, but we can't hop over nowhere that easy. So we had to replicate and do whatever we can in our domestic cricket to prepare our players for international cricket. And because it's very expensive here, people don't, like I said to people all the time, if you give $1 million to Uganda, you know how many shillings that is? And that's what people don't understand. We just talk, but you have to break this thing down to what it is. And it happens in all our sports. All our sports suffer from the same thing of finances. It's just to go to somewhere. What is $450, $500 just to go to America, whatever it is. I don't know what it is, trouble. You know what I mean? But it's pretty expensive to go to those places for us.
Right.
So that's our challenge most of the time.
Right. All right, sir. Well, again, we want to wish you all the best for 2021. We look forward to any announcement that comes out from the Eastern County regarding 2021, and we'll just keep our ears low to the ground about that actual three-day tournament, because that's what it is, a 3-day tournament.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Three nice days.
What's that?
I said 3 nice days.
3 nice days. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll be back with more of the Island Stats Sports Show after this message from our sponsor.
This month, we're featuring a range of infant and baby care products from Hello Bello, a company started up by a husband and wife team who were inspired to meet the challenges arising from the often surprising, not to mention messy, experiences that came with the territory known as parenting. The couple behind Hello Bello know that being a parent is uniquely demanding, and their mission is to bring you premium products at gentle prices. Try Hello Bello Apple Blossom Baby Lotion, Lavender Shampoo and Body Wash, Flushable Wipes, Diaper Rash Cream, Lavender Bubble Bath, and more. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Yeah, Jay, very interesting when we talk. We were talking cricket, obviously, we're talking Eastern County. When a big event in sports is missed for whatever reasons, it leaves a big hole in a lot of people because, people look forward to, people, as we know, what's the first thing you look at for 2021? Men's Cup match. Okay, now I know when Eastern County is. Okay, so when's my birthday?
That's one of the things that we could say is part of our culture. You just said it. And the first thing they look at, what date is Cup match? And because going year to year, nobody actually knows the dates of actually Eastern County.
Right.
All they know, what's Cup match? Okay, 2 weeks before.
Yep.
2 weeks after, and 2 weeks after. Now, most of the time, the last one is always around Labor Day weekend. But
right,
everybody's 2 weeks before, whatever the day is, 2 weeks after.
You work backwards.
And that's how they feel. So we got to make sure that we got our money for our plots by this date now. And one thing I love with Eastern County, especially Eastern County and Cup match, but especially Eastern County, because you got more teams. Cup match is only 2 teams, obviously, but with Eastern County, got more teams. They got more families. And each team has, if you go through just the family tree in each team, so flats from the Woods, and you just go off that family tree and how wide they can spread out. Those
right.
The Bay or the Outer Bridges and the Bridges and how wide those routes spread out. Then Cleveland, obviously the Douglas and how wide those routes, and Tob is how wide. And then St. David's how wide. That's.
Just take picture.
You're right. But you see what I'm saying? So it like you said, whether you're into the sport or not, whether you're even into the game or not, folks come Eastern County just to be with family. And that was something that we all got to miss at an event. Now, that's not to say that we wasn't with family this year, because we was. But I even think now it's even more of a conversation where we do get back together and we do meet up again at another event, because now we're going to talk about, well, what happened last year? Oh, I haven't seen you for a while. Hey, you look pretty good. Hey, you don't look good. What's going on? You have this talk. Oh, well, you didn't beat me in a year. Well, nobody played last year. It's so many conversations that we're having through those camps, and I really can't wait.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you, because
one thing that I just want to just touch on just a little bit of that, and probably we're going to have a whole new show about it in the new year about it. You had mentioned something to me off air, I want to say last week, while we was both somehow in the morning watching cricket.
Mm.
And you saw KFC on somebody's chest.
Yeah, sponsoring.
Yeah, not just the team, sponsoring
the event.
event. I think, and that is something like I said, I haven't been in those talks. I have not been in those thing. I've had many talks with Mr. Douglas on the side. Obviously, Earl, you know, I've been commentating for a while with the Voice of Summer team, and it's something that I'm always looking the future. What is next for us here in broadcasting? What is next for us on sports? The franchise sponsorship, I'm gonna go with that, because normally sponsorship, the local sponsorship, for the most part, will be year to year. Sometimes you can probably get a multi-year deal, but for the most part, it's year to year, right?
Right.
But the franchise is looking for multi-years.
Yes. Yes.
You won't see KFC for 1 year, I promise you.
Oh no, not at all.
When you
Not at all.
see big franchise on EPL jerseys
Yep.
for 1 year.
They do 10-year links.
Why? Because they need the exposure to mountain amount of money they're going to put out.
Okay. Yeah. But remember, we remember when AIG sponsored Manchester United.
Yep.
And where's the headquarters?
Yeah, exactly. Carlsberg, Ralph, you know. And we say that because, I mean, and what happens, your competition comes synonymous with that name, or not just locally, but if you, once again, you sweeten the pie with TV and even streaming, then it sweetens the pie for them because they're always looking for exposure due to
Right. I remember being able to talking about this. I remember back some years ago where I want to say Boris and Lightburn were sponsoring cases of beer for teams after matches and everybody was up in arms about alcohol in sports. But then you got big clubs such as, what was it, Liverpool had Carlsberg. You watch American sports and every commercial is Budweiser or, you know, these type of things. They're not encouraging you to drink it, or even if they are, they're saying drink wisely. You know.
Earl, you know, so talk about the elephant in the room. Then. Where did that come from, Earl? Where did this come from, Earl?
From the churches.
And what incident? We can probably go back to the Miami 7 incident.
Right. Well, to be honest, I honestly think again.
I think it was brewing, but
the problem was, and I'll say it, the problem was those guys were trafficking. Were they using it? You don't know. They never got that far. But I think we overreacted so fast in just saying, let's stop something. And everybody said, okay, no problem, without having, again, a conversation.
And I think that needs to be revisited.
Definitely, without a doubt.
Because whether it's your personal opinion, it's still somebody's personal choice.
Yes, definitely.
Like anything, you make sure that you put in safety nets.
Yeah.
Because you can't be, I like to say it, a hypocrite in one way. You say we don't want no sponsorship from a liquor company, but where every team's going to have a case of beer in the locker at the end of the game. Or we're going to sell alcohol at the event.
Yeah. Our biggest sporting event. Okay. All our big sporting events, right? And we can go down from Cup Match to County to Bermuda Half Marathon Derby Day. All of it. The first thing people say is, okay, let's get our spot and let's get our liquor.
Well, and let's go with the events that we had this year. The PGA. Didn't they have a Hull sponsor?
Oh no, the tournament. The tournament.
Rugby.
The tournament.
Sailing.
The tournament.
So I think that this conversation needs to be had because I've seen motorsports definitely take a hard hit, especially. And I remember, watching the closed circuit power boat, especially the tunnel boats, or
Yeah.
what's it called, tunnel? But Kendir and go karting, and like I said, the motorsports, and especially cricket. Maybe we had Benson Hedges.
Well, it's funny because remember, the cigarette companies were sponsoring a lot of major sporting events and sporting people, and it kind of, because they felt cigarettes were easily available. That's why they're making so much money, and they need to get them out of sports. When most of those guys, if you would have wanted to stop anything, was damn moonshining. Because around the cigarettes, that's all those guys were doing. If you look at these sports they were deep into, like you said, the car racing, right? The karting racing, not in Bermuda, but I'm talking globally.
NASCAR, Formula One and stuff.
Yeah, they were deep into speed of anything, and hey, they were mixing the gas. And by the way, this is moonshine. So but the cigarette got the bad name because they felt every youngster around the world was smoking a cigarette, and it was contributing to their bad health. When you had all these signs saying, okay, you can't sell it to these people, you can't do this, you can't do that, can't do the other, so all of that has to have its place, and that, again, that conversation has to be held.
Yeah, I mean, and it should be held because let's think about it now, Earl. We have more information.
Yeah.
So I think, once again, those things need to be revisited because I get back to what I said earlier. We're going to have to get creative. If you want these sports to survive and not even survive, but flourish, because athletes are always looking to do one better. 2020, for most part, 2020 is gone.
Yeah.
Who wants the same record as this year?
Right.
Unless you're the champ. And is it known there's only one champ?
Yep.
So all the other teams, all the other athletes are trying to dethrone them, so they have to do one better.
Yeah.
Or if you're in another club, you have to do a lot better. But it's gonna be challenging, and I think when we do have rough times, and the minister said it, we adapt. Even if it's a trial period, Aaron.
Yeah. Well, we're joined by Calvin Blankendow from the Bermuda Cricket Board. Good evening, sir. How are you?
How you doing, Mr. Ford and Mr. Bearson? Season's greetings to everybody. Season greetings to Bermuda.
Yes. Cal, obviously the Bermuda Cricket Board were able to have somewhat of a season in 2020. And obviously you guys have, under new leadership now, looking forward to putting things together for the 2021 season. But reflecting on that 2020 season.
Well, before I'm going to reflect, I'm going to go to the young man on your left. I've known Mr. Ford for quite some time, but every time I go digging through the archives, there's some photo popping up with DJ Juggling Jay, and I'm like, this guy could have been a top-notch cricketer for the national team. I see him in there with pictures of Sluggo, a few guys that would have passed away, Michael Rayner, I believe, and a few. Yes, Mr. Ford. Yes, playing cricket.
I don't know what you're talking about, Mr. Blankendow.
Yeah, all right. Yes.
Listen, the man had on the Ricky gloves. He should have done it barehanded. That's how many times he dropped the ball.
You move out of your crease. See where you was going.
Yeah. One thing I could say, if you had Michael Rayner coming at him, and you probably would have let the ball go past you, right? You know what I'm talking about, Mr. Ford?
Do I? My hand still hurts.
No, but Mr. Bearson, Mr. Ford, yes. First of all, thank you for having me on the show on behalf of the Bermuda Cricket Board. 2020 is still here. Another 2 days to go, but it was very exciting, very challenging, but also very promising. I think we have to be mindful of the fact that we were able to have cricket played at all. and to have some enjoyment with spectators, and to see a lot of young men come out and may not have had the opportunity if the more senior players were available, but because of the pandemic, rather was health-wise or trying to provide for their family, we're just keeping their loved ones safe, opted out, and that's fine. No slight to them. It gave Bermuda the opportunity. There's cricket fans and there's grandparents and parents to see a lot of young players play. Definitely want to take my hats off to teams like Bayless Bay, I believe Somerset Cricket Club as well, St. George's to a certain extent, Cleveland. Those are the teams. Flats, they played a lot of young players. And Bayless Bay, I think some of them could have even been my sons. I have a daughter, but somebody would say they got a son out there. I might have to shake my head. So yeah, it was good for Bermuda. Also, well done to Arnold Mendes, Cal Waldron, Lorenzo Tucker, and Mr. Brian Richardson. They got the under-19s in the league as they are preparing for next year to play in the ICC 2020 World Cup qualifiers in the under-19s with USA, Canada, Argentina, and most likely Cayman, and Bermuda will be part of that as we try to get to the World Cup round. But in short, if we look now at where the world is now, for Bermuda to have to play cricket with spectators, complete season, almost to the last game, Mr. Basin, I think we did fantastic. So to former President Lloyd Smith, who made us all work hard over a short period of time to get the rules and regulations going, to the government giving us approval, to ICC supporting us, and to all the clubs, the players, the coaches, and even the spectators that came out. I think we've had a good season. But as you said, 2020 is going out the window, and now we're getting into 2021.
When can we see possibilities of a schedule for 2021? Now, as I said, as I've said to others already, despite knowing where we will be in 3 or 4 months, we still have to plan like we will start as normal, won't we?
Yes. So I can say that cricket, we took a 3-week break, so we treated ourselves like we were in a professional environment. You finish your competition, you took 3 weeks off, relaxed, rejuvenated ourselves. But we've already have a draft schedule, technically. So we've done using Cricket HQ, we've put in all the teams in there and worked out to see what the possibilities would be. So we would have a shell of a schedule. And again, once that's completed, depending on the formats of the game, are we only going to have 20-20? Are we going to play 50 overs? We have 3 international competitions. Everyone says, yes, we want to see Bermuda play overseas, but we have to put in Cup match. We have to put in Eastern Connie, Central Connie, Western Connie, T20, 50 overs, all the youth league matches. So we have a shell already, but we're looking to have a schedule completed no later than March 30th, but probably the clubs would see it by February the 29th, 28th, I believe. Mr. Stephen Douglas, who I believe is going to be joining you later, done a fantastic job with Samantha Robertson. So scheduling wise, rules and regulations, all of that's already taken place. So the clubs will see that probably by the end of January, get everybody approved it by the end of February, and the general public should be seeing it by March. Because one thing we've noted, we can't start talking about cricket in February and try to start the season at the end of April. So we have to talk about cricket at the end of November. Once it ends in September, October is relaxation to a certain extent. November, we're preparing for February so that we can launch the league in March with the promos, and then we can kickstart in April. Having said that, we know that football's on the back burner now, so they're going to look to complete the season with 3 teams going down, 2 coming up. So we're all going to work together for the best interest in Bermuda. But again, we've started what we've had to do, and we will be ready for the league whenever that date's set. But right now, we're looking at the last week in April, most likely, or early May.
With all things being equal, we generally do, and I'm always on, no matter who's in charge of the cricket board, the transfer period. Why does it have to wait so late to have a transfer? Can that be talked about and changed? Because you're starting the season and people are still able to transfer, and you don't know who's playing for who. It's hard to prepare. It's hard to do anything pre a match.
Yeah, so I know the cricket committee and Mr. Douglas will be on in a different hat, but he may want to speak to that. Looking at all the rules and regulations, seeing what will take place, have to talk to the clubs, and I believe there is some room for changes to be made. Coming from the football world, cricket is a slower game. So, football, you got 90 minutes. Cricket, you out there for 7 hours or 3 hours minimum. So it takes a little bit more time for all the officials to get around the table and say, hey, maybe we can look at that. But it's coming. I'm not going to say it's going to be pushed up heavily, but there's been some talks about trying to make it more manageable for the players themselves, the coaches, and the clubs. And, of course, the spectators as well. There's nothing worse than me saying I'm supporting Workman's a PhD and Mr. Ford's playing for him, and the next thing I know, he said that's some stars. So I had to turn in my hat and jersey. I heard you guys talking about merchandising and sponsorship. So that's where we need to go. But you need to do that with franchise players, and people want to know who their team is. So the senior players and members of the clubs and the communities will talk about that. But we're talking about how can we improve the game, and it's not going to happen overnight. But things are being discussed.
Okay. Any quick questions, Jay?
Yes, Cal. Well, obviously, I've known Cal a long time, but let's go back.
You have to go pictures to find you.
Yeah, you know why people get pictures? Because I was never good enough to play for him. I was like, once football season something ended, I was like, okay, I'm done. And I'm like, oh, Jay actually played the whole year old sports. Okay.
No, but Cal, first things first, I got to commend you guys because coming from obviously my other head, the media side or the broadcasting side, I got to commend you guys on what you guys done this year with the interviews with the youngsters, especially the youngsters, but also most of the teams before games, during games, and after games. That is something that's been missing, obviously, using the social media platforms. Going forward, though, we were talking about transfer lists. We've had this conversation when you had your football hat on. How can we tell our story? How can we promote the game before the actual game? Because once again, it's hard to say that Cal Blikendals can play for Denny Town that we don't even know until the night before because he may have transferred or whatever. Now, if I knew 2 weeks ago prior to that, then I know now as a company, I can say Cal Blikendals going up against Earl Basin for St. George's and use that as a promotional tool. Use that as something that we can help push the game to get people because obviously we're all struggling with funds. We know the only way we can get some funds is actually get some people in the venue. When we get people in the venue, then these sponsors say, well, hey, I want to be a part of that. So going forward, I know you're a man that thinks like me. Are we on the same page?
Yes, we're on the same page. We to give a little promo, I guess, we're looking to move out. How it started, our nurse, we both like to interview people, ask questions. He's the professional. I just do it on the casual. So I'm like, I'm at the game, how can we promote it? So I'm like, just start an interview. What was funny was only using my phone every time, but now players, captains, coaches are coming to me. Can I get interviewed? So we had a small mini team. And so now what we're trying to do, Drew, Ray J, and Simon's ahead of marking. We know once the pandemic passes us, we're not going to be able to be at every field, but can we do a match of the day? So, can we concentrate on Bayless Bay versus St. George's at Wellington Oval? And then we're going to take all of our media exposure to that ground and make it the game of the day. Hopefully it could be streaming, interviews, post-match, pre-match, during the innings, and just make it exciting so that we have a quality event and we're not spreading ourselves thin. And hopefully then that can lead into the game of the week, who are the main players, the bowlers, the batsmen, the presidents, and then also bring in the sponsors of their club. So if St. George's is sponsored by someone, why do you sponsor them? So that's what we're trying to do because we know we have to keep the excitement to keep the game alive. Children and kids and families have so many opportunities to not be at the game. So if they're going to come to the game, at least look at it on their iPad if it's streamed. You have to show them about the game before the day of the game. And that's what professional teams do. LeBron James, before the game even starts, you heard LeBron. You're not even into basketball, but you want to watch. So that's what we have to do in Bermuda. I think we've come to a point where we were accustomed to people just doing things because of culture and family ties, and it was the only thing to do. But that's not the only thing to do anymore. There's too many options for people not to be part of a local program because we're not visible. That's a lot of sports. We have to become more visible. So we have to put all the past behind us and go to the future. And also the players and the captains, the presidents, they have to make themselves available as well. So no more, I don't want to be, this, I don't want to be interviewed today. Like you made a century, you want to be interviewed.
That's it.
But you only made 5 runs, you don't want to be interviewed. If you want to be interviewed for the game, you have to be interviewed on the good and the bad days. at all times. Rain, sunshine, cold days, sunny days. That's part of growing the game.
Yeah. Well, Cal, I do want to wish you all the best for 2021, and we look forward to moving forward with cricket in 2021. But all the best to you and your family, and we'll see cricket starting up very shortly in the new year.
Yes, thank you. And I want to say to the media, continue to ask us there's tough questions and also hold us accountable. So if I say we're going to try to get something out by February the 28th, it may be a day or two later, but, remind us that, hey, is that schedule coming out? Are those rules and regulations visible? Do we know where the transfer lists are? Because, you hold us accountable to the general public that asks the questions through you, which they want to ask us. So let's keep that partnership healthy. And we have a new president, Mr. Mendes. He's very gung-ho to do a lot of things. So, and we have a lot of challenges with these 3 international tournaments and the pandemic. But if the people and the sponsors are behind us, I think we'll make it a success. And everybody be safe out there. Get off the street by 11 o'clock tomorrow, Jay, and don't try to play no parties somewhere sneaking in. Follow the rules, and everybody will follow you. It'll be a good New Year's if everybody follows Jason. If Jason could be here by 10:59, we could all be here.
Ain't gonna happen. But when we come back,
gentlemen.
All right, when we come back in 2021 by Nadavia Williams.
We're spotlighting a food producer whose products are made with real wholesome ingredients, such as the highest grade farm-grown vegetables and certified organic free-range livestock with no artificial ingredients or preservatives, and no compromising on the painstaking quality control. Imagine Foods believe that higher quality ingredients, meeting high standards of purity, yield greater nutritional advantages and a more satisfying flavor. This month, we're featuring Imagine Foods organic roasted turkey, vegetable wild mushroom, and savory beef gravy. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
And welcome back. As we said, we were going to be joined by Nadavia Williams. Nadavia, obviously 2020 will be a year you'll never forget, and Bermuda will never forget. But how are you on your recovery?
All right. Good evening, Jason and Earl. How y'all doing? I'm actually doing great. It's actually been the 6-month mark yesterday. And it feels good to be at that mark. It feels good to be in the position I'm in today from the last position I was talking to you guys in. Right. It's good. Feels good.
What is the prognosis of like a full recovery?
It's taking a while, at least another 6 months. I'm actually out to get my 6-month checkup out on Wednesday, back to Boston, to get a full overview of how things are going and what the process is to move on to the next level of therapy and things like that.
Now, of course, the pandemic also shut down your sport of love, which was rugby. Although you played football in Israel, take us back through some of those times.
Oh yeah, well, I was actually coming across some pictures the other day of me playing. I'm watching. I missed the game. That's what it is. I miss the physicality of just being out there, with the teams. In Israel, although the pandemic is still going on, they doing really well to contain it, but they also still playing right now. So that's also good. Here, I wish rugby was back on so I can at least watch. I don't know if I'm enjoying. I do have hopes to getting back into it. Mm-hmm. So we're going to see how that goes in the process.
Yeah, everything's going to take its time. Like everything else, it's a process. I know you were one of those ones that love to mix it up, get into those tackles, get into those rucks and all. But having the opportunity to watch it and possibly give back to some of your teammates or your team in a coaching capacity, how strongly do you feel about that?
I feel really good. Actually, I'm looking to take direction in coaching, mentoring. So with, like I said, this year, it would have been nice to have the games on so I can watch and learn more from a sideline position. I've always been in the mix and ready to go. Now it's more like the thinking, the strategic part of it. So I'm looking more forward to getting in teaching and mentoring those who come in after me, and even some of my age and older. I think I have a lot I can offer for them too.
Yeah. Jay?
Going forward with rugby, obviously 2020 has been, it's been problems for everybody. But also seeing some new things come out in sports, a faster version of the sport. Now, rugby, you got these tans and the fast version. Now, are you more traditionalist, or you're willing to adapt to any version that comes your way?
Well, I've been playing 7s, 10s, 15s, 14s, 12, however many people you got, we're gonna play. I just want to play. So I'm very adaptable. It does get harder the less amount of people you have, but the time is shorter. But it takes a lot out of you. I mean, even 7s in the 7s tournament, and I've played international with that, and I can tell you right now, 10 minutes is a long time. Like 7 minutes is a long time when you're out there with just 7 players and you got to run the whole pitch. So
listen, Jay,
but it's fun.
I was in Veracruz, Mexico at the CAC games, and the rugby team was there playing 7s. One player from the kickoff dislocated his shoulder. From the kickoff, the first game, dislocated his shoulder, was out for the rest of the tournament.
Jeez.
But you know what he said? Thank God I ain't got to go through the other 9 minutes of that. Because, like you said, it's 10 minutes of torture trying to chase down or even trying to create something. And believe it or not, it's very technical as well, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's more of a strategy, with 15s, you more like, you leaning on your bigs or you leaning on your backs, the smaller people. But in 7s, you're leaning on yourself. You don't have as many people at the tackle, at the rock. You don't have as many people in the line out. So it's more of a skill, and you gotta be prepared to be in open field with a tackle or be in open field with the ball, and to handle your own.
Yeah. Now, how challenging is it? Because I know some guys. You see them the wingers. So one possession you'll see them on the left hand side, and one possession you'll see them on the right hand side. How difficult is it? Because some guys like to catch the ball in one way, but when you have to play the other side, how difficult is it to change up to make sure you're taking a possession of the ball?
Oh well, first you got to catch the ball. First you got to be, no matter what side you on.
While you're thinking of somebody hitting you at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. So it depends on what's your strong suit. So some people are stronger passing with their left hand, and some people are stronger passing with their right hand. The good thing about rugby is you pass backwards, so you don't have to spend it long as it get there. You know what I mean? So whatever side, if you feel that like your left side is weaker, from switching, you might want to take it in as a winger, take it into the tackle rather than pass it, because it's not strong. So you want to pass only on your strong hand. But in rugby, you tend to, as a winger or as a player, you tend to like strengthen both hands to be able to pass no matter what side you're on, because you never know where you're going to be on the field. You never know who's going to be on your left or your right. You got to be ready to dish it out at a moment's notice if you don't want to get it.
Well, hitting seems like the most enjoyable thing in the game.
Yeah,
some guys I just want to hit him.
Yeah. We got our targets. So line them up. See, I could take him.
That's why we usually played as far as school, and sometimes that was under protest.
That hurts. Actually, I want to get back to your injury, and obviously with your injury was off the field, but just having injuries as a sportsman, especially in this game, we're talking about hits. The time you being out, obviously going through therapy and stuff, what have you learned about yourself mentally, but also your body as far as recuperating?
It's a lot I learned, actually. I'm happy, one, that there was no sports on during the time of my injury, so I didn't feel like I missed out on anything. It also allowed my body to heal faster. Heal in a slow but proper manner, because if sports was on, I'll probably be wanting to rush to get back even faster. But it gives me time to really reflect on my body, what I need to do. I never took out no time before this. I was playing year round and maybe here in Bermuda or somewhere else. So, just giving my body a rest is I just, you know, it's a thankful situation. But mentally, you know, mentally is just being positive, you know, trying to keep myself positive and those around me positive to, you know, yes, it was a tragic year and everything, but you know, we're going to get through it. You know what I mean? As positive mindset, positive body. And like I said, 6 months yesterday since this happened on June 29th, you know, and I feel good. I don't even feel like I got in the accident, but you know, it's a lot of things that's still going on with me that I need to just, you know, take it easy, take it slow, and continue with the progress.
Yeah. Well, I want to wish you all the best in your recovery, and hopefully you get. Okay. I'm sorry, Jay. I'm sorry, Jay. Sing your moment. We want to wish you all the best in your recovery, and hopefully you do get positive news at your next at your checkup, and we'll stay in touch to see how that that progresses, and all the best in 2021 with you and your family, and all. We want to wish you well.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. We'll be back with more Island Stat Sports Show after this message from our sponsor.
Perrier water has been renowned worldwide for over a century and a half. Collected from a pristine ancient mineral water spring in the south of France, originally bottled in a distinctive green pear-shaped bottle, and distributed in Bermuda by John Barry & Son Limited, our foremost beverage distributor, refreshing Perrier is the champagne of mineral waters. Try Perrier water in bold, natural fruit flavors with no added sugar and 0 calories. This month, we're featuring peach, strawberry, watermelon, orange, pink grapefruit, lime, cucumber, and regular Perrier water in cans. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Well, Jay, inspirational story there. As he said 6 months ago, yesterday, everybody around this island was holding their breath, hoping for the best for this young man. And he's taken it in stride. He's been positive. He's been working hard to get himself back. And hopefully next week when he gets to that appointment, he gets positive news and good news.
Well, once again, it's just one step further in the journey. And we see this many times when we talk about sports. You know, it's a process, it's a journey. But this is the things that these life lessons that we learn through good times and bad times. And if we apply them to our life in general, it bodes well for us. I remember, very vividly my accident, and I remember the doctor saying, I think he's going to be, because he was into sports. I'm like, well, what has that got to do with this right now? It's hard. What does me playing football or cricket have to do with this? But I didn't understand him because at the time I was 16. But what they were talking about was the mindset.
Mm.
The willing to win.
Yes.
And not.
You were still having fun at sports. Sports was still just fun. It wasn't looked at as
I hated to lose.
Hmm.
I actually hated to lose. Now I wasn't that sore loser, but I just hated to lose. So whether we play cards or when we play marbles or whatever, I'm gonna beat you.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care. I'm gonna beat you. That's it. But it's always been that mindset. And when even if it's injuries, and like he mentioned, sometimes as athletes, sometimes you need to protect yourself from yourself or somebody to protect you from yourself, because we see them many times. A lot of athletes come back too early. And what normally happens is that you probably compensate because of the injury and end up causing another injury to another part of the body because you've been overcompensating for the weaker part of the body instead of just taking the time that's needed. And just because Earl Basin took 6 weeks with this injury, and I might have a similar injury, that doesn't mean I'm going to take 6 weeks.
Right.
I could take 4 weeks or I could take 10 weeks.
Right. It's how your body reacts to the treatment given and what you're doing to allow it to recover.
And this is where athletes, if you're going to be an elite athlete, we talked about LeBron James the other day, how much money he actually spends on his body and his training, because they have it, I won't say have his body down to a science, but basically they're using science to how much intake, how much oxygen. I mean, all these different things that they need to find out to have some type of scheduling for his workout. When's the best time he needs to work out? What type of foods? How much food is going to eat before his workout? All these different things. How long is his recovery? If it's he played 2 or 3 games back to back, okay, what else do we do? It's so many different things. So when you just scale it back down to the amateur athlete, how do they recover? And I think a lot of times our athletes, we play the game and then we just, what's recovery? I'll see it the next game.
Well, it's funny you say that because, I mean, you and I are deep into sports, so we look at it on all those terms. But look at it as you have yet to mention how much time he gets to spend with his family, because that has to be scheduled as well.
Yeah, and work.
Yeah, because he has a job.
Yeah.
And then, but see, we want to spend all our time, and let's go out. Our boys, we got to be around our boys. We're going to be around our girls. You know what I mean? So if you put that into perspective, it kind of gives you a sense that maybe my layout of how I project myself or how I see myself down the road needs to be readjusted.
Earl, I'm glad you mentioned that because, not thinking of it at the time, but you said something that's very important, especially if you're talking about an athlete who's involved in a team setup, right? So let's think about it. If you're involved, let's take football. We're in football, so let's take football. You're in a team setup. So you're one of 11 if you're a starter. You're one of 11. But basically, you're one of the team. You're going to train twice a week normally, right? Play at least once, maybe twice. Because sometimes you got those midweek games, whatever. So that's 4 days out of the week that you're training. Once again, you're working 5 days out of the week. Like you said, where do you spend that time with your family? Where's that downtime coming? Obviously, we could say off season, but now, as we know now, a lot of these seasons are running into the next season. A lot of our amateur athletes, most of them play 2 sports.
Right.
So where is that downtime? Where's that time for self? So that's where we've noticed in the last few years, the mental side or the psychology side of the sporting come into play, because you gotta make sure you take care of self, not only physically, but mentally.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. Yeah, and it's important. It's important that, and you're right, self, because in order for you to be the best person you can be, you have to be happy about the space you're in first. In order to make somebody else happy, whether it's your teammates, your relationship, or whatever, you have to be happy.
We've seen it. We've seen and nobody wants to see it. Nobody wants to hear it. But we've seen players, no matter what sport we're talking about, blow up for an incident, not realize it could be a pent-up anger over something at home or something at work or something somewhere else. And
Nothing to do with the game.
Nothing to do with the game. But a lot of times players will use, and we say that all the time, we use sports or something to release our stress. But sometimes that's maybe where it all comes out.
Right.
It all comes out. Okay, be careful what you ask for, because that's why we do a lot of sports, to release stress, this, that, and the other. So something like, once again, I think I was glad that we had the talk with the young collegiate footballers last week, because they mentioned that's what they're actually being taught.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're hearing this in actual programs. We know that's a part of our national programs, but how much of it is it a part of our local programs or club level programs? So it'll be interesting. Hopefully going forward, we can be educated more on it.
Yeah, it's the willingness also on local terms. As we know, we've always got people in the change room. I don't want nobody to know I'm speaking to a psychologist. I don't want nobody to know I'm doing this. I don't want nobody to know.
Don't you think that's changing a little bit, though?
A little bit, yes. Not a lot, though. Not a lot. And I say that because you still see quite a few of the tantrums. And basically, those come from not being able to talk your problems out. You are acting your problems out. And I'm not just talking about football and/or cricket. I'm talking a lot of sports in general. A lot of people don't know how to have that conversation. When it's when it's a little contentious. You know, you could have, we could use a bike race where things get a little tight, you know, and at the end of it, you can't have a conversation because you're afraid of what you might say or do. So you kind of just ride away. You know what I mean?
The only thing I frown upon, because when you hear about in the heat of the moment, I said this, in the heat of the moment, I done this. But when you're off the field, you know better.
Yeah.
What it's going to cost you now because of this, that, and the other. And probably luckily because some of these organizations hasn't really disciplined the players to the full extent, which I think is another problem for another day.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I was mad. Okay.
But your behavior hindered your entire team. Your actions left us stranded.
And once again, a lot of these problems come from off the field. So it's just, it's going to be interesting. If every club or every organization had somebody that can help in that side of the process, I think we'd be better off. I mean, how many people are qualified to do that? Might be another story, but I'm just saying that is something that going forward, I mean, we see other countries, see other people doing it. So, I mean, hey, it's working somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be joined by the president of the Bermuda Field Hockey Federation, Mr. Keith De Silva. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Doing well, Earl. How are you guys?
Good.
We're doing good. We're doing good. Well, yes, you had the opportunity to get your season started somewhat. It's been halted as of mid-December or so, but working hard to get it started. How much effort and discussions with the clubs did it take to get it off the ground?
There wasn't. It's funny because there wasn't a lot of discussion within the club. The problem I think we had, and I think a lot of other clubs had, was the communication from Department of Health. We didn't know the process. You know, I went around and around in circles trying to find out, you know, what we could do, you know, what was the protocol. I think I spoke with Youth and Sport, eventually got Department of Health, somebody at the NSC, and then there was a form to fill out. I'm like, well, that was, you know, and then they gave us permission to just play. But yeah, I think part of the the national sporting governing bodies, even a lot of the other clubs, they didn't have a clue either. So I was, emailing like Peter Dunn, like, this is the form you need to fill out, and this is how you get started. There's no real simple, there's no single point of contact, I think, but we all got started. And then by time December came is when the numbers started to decrease in terms of group sizes. I think we had 1 weekend left. So we got real lucky. So we missed an exhibition game at the very end, but we got our first half of the season done. So we were real happy with that. The kids got to do their training at nights, and the younger kids got trainings on Saturday. We had 30, 40 kids on a Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon doing their stuff. So, they're all excited. Yeah, COVID really kicked everyone. So
with the things the way they are now, when would you need to start your second half of the season to complete it in the time frame in which you guys had scheduled?
I think we're scheduled to start the second weekend of January, so January 9th, I think was our first weekend. Mm-hmm. But again, we have allowed for some sort of cushion at the end. We've got a couple spare weeks where because we've obviously had games that were postponed for other issues, so we pushed them to the end of the season. And again, we finished so early. We finished them, I think before Easter. And there's nothing to say why we can't continue to, May, June. Gets a little warm, but we can do night games.
Keep betting it down.
Yeah, exactly.
For 2021, what are the prospects of international? Because we know there's a lot of commitments for qualifying and all that. So what is the latest with international play for 2021?
So you may remember we're actually looking to host CAC qualifiers. We were supposed to do the first quarter this year, and they've asked us to push it. So we're looking to do that first week in July. Hopefully that'll give everyone a chance to get the vaccine and get through their process. And the majority of the competitions have been pushed. I know that the CACs for field hockey were pushed to the end of the year.
Yes.
And I think that some of the other ones from this year were pushed to 2021. Oh, sorry, that were 2021. But yeah, they've been pushed like 8 to 12 months.
Right.
So hopefully that'll give us a little bit of a window to get, keep our training going, to try to make that. Again, the CAC, the qualifiers for us this is the first year I think we'll have a men's team that we'll put forward. We'll have a women's team, senior women's team. And depending on who is able to come, I'm very confident that we'll qualify at least one of us to represent at the end of the year. Yeah.
That's a good sign there.
It is a good sign. Yeah, really, it'd be exciting. I can't remember where it is. I think it's in Santiago, Chile.
Chile, yep. Chile.
Yeah. It'll be. So I've never been, so I'm hoping to pop along. So
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, as the president, obviously with COVID, it gives us time to reflect on, the times as far as family. But as far as the hockey world, obviously we adapt as people. What are some of the things we've learned about, or some of the pros of COVID? Because everybody's always talking about doom and gloom. What's some of the pros that we could probably find from COVID as far as the administration side?
It's a tough one because, and as Earl knows, I worked hard over the last couple of years to bring the club up administratively. We built it. There were a lot of issues that we had, and we've really forced it through. We've had, we've seen now the banks are starting to hit us with all their catch-up paperwork. I think COVID's really starting to catch up on a lot of things. We've allowed, and you say it's a positive. Some of the positives, it's allowed us to take a step back and see, where are our gaps? Where are our gaps in, making sure that our members are up to date? Do we have all our first aid in place? Are there things missing in our kit that we didn't have, which we didn't? This year we've got nice machines at the field, so now we have proper. It allowed us to take a step back and a breath and kind of say, okay, COVID's forcing us to do this. We needed it anyway, but now we're forcing that play. So let's go ahead and do that sort of get those things done. Again, it's tough. You look at some of the kids and the players. Their mental health is tough. We're now trying to look at ways to address that. I lived with my daughter when she had a bit of a moment when they thought school was not gonna go back and go virtual, and then you take hockey away from her. So it's tough on a lot of people, but again, it has allowed us to take that breath and regain our what direction we want to do and make sure that we get everything done, rather than just going out and running around and playing. So
yeah, looking at it from the standpoint where you guys took a big hit as far as numbers some years ago when a lot of people left the island. We've seen a bit of growth, not just from the youngsters, but from people who have come back here to work and so forth. I know you guys are working extremely hard to try and get a full men's league going. You think you're about maybe 3 years away from that if numbers keep increasing?
If the numbers keep increasing, unfortunately, with hockey, we have. If you look at our demographics, we go from a large number of under 12s, and then we cut in half. So we got about 80 kids that are under 12, that between 5 and 12 that come out and play. And then you go the next age bracket between 12 and 16 is probably about 20 kids. And then you go to the women and men who are 20 plus to 35. And I think there might be about a dozen to 15. And then you go 40 plus, and there's a whole bunch of them.
Right.
So one of the things that we need to look at, and field hockey globally has done a really good job by identifying the gaps that they have. So masters hockey is a big thing, and with our visibility that's increased, we've had a lot of players who've just shown up out of the, who used to play as a kid or used to play in their 20s, And this year I saw at least two women who came back who used to play 10, 15 years ago. So they're now part of a team and they're now training and they're now playing. So, it's a great opportunity again for an opportunity, Masters hockey. And they have international competitions and they have their breakouts by 5 years. So yeah, it's a perfect opportunity,
Yeah. Well, we want to wish you and your sport all the best in 2021. We'll stay in touch as far as what's new coming up, and when we have a return to sports paper put forward, then obviously you already know how to fill the form out and get that started. So,
well, I'm hoping it's an easy process because our COVID, all the clubs' COVID policies should already be there.
Right.
So the only thing that's different is, that we're now down to groups of 10. So as soon as they increase your groups, then you can now, you should be able to go back to play. Football should go back to play, hockey, cricket, they all have their policies, but it's based on, we need, there's 12, minimum of 11 per side, 22. So we need at least 25 in a group, once you get umpires and stuff. So we need those numbers to double, triple just to get back on the field, at least for a game. Practice, I think we can manage, but yeah. But yeah,
so hopefully that
all the best
is looked upon favorably in the very near future, and you guys can get back started. So we'll stay in touch. Okay?
All right, Errol. Appreciate
Happy New Year to you.
Sure. Happy New Year to you guys as well, right?
All right, we'll be back with more of this Island Stats Sports Show after this message from our sponsor.
This month, we're featuring a range of infant and baby care products from Hello Bello. The company started up by a husband and wife team who were inspired to meet the challenges arising from the often surprising, not to mention messy, experiences that came with the territory known as parenting. The couple behind Hello Bello know that being a parent is uniquely demanding, and their mission is to bring you premium products at gentle prices. Try Hello Bello Apple Blossom Baby Lotion, Lavender Shampoo and Body Wash, Flushable Wipes, Diaper Rash Cream, Lavender Bubble Bath, and more. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Well, Jay, we've almost come to the end of this year. We've got another day? This nightmare year. But you know what? It might even be worse next one. So let's be grateful for what we have.
I'm not even thinking like that. Mm-mm.
Well, you know what? At some point in time, we have to say, well, it may. Let's hope not.
No, I'm not good at. No, I'm not a quitter.
Okay.
Not a quitter. I keep telling you.
Okay. All right. Well, I do want to thank you for sharing this stage with me. It's been a joy. Out of COVID comes big things, and what I have been able to understand over this period is you need to redevelop yourself and make the most out of what you can and can't do. And I think COVID has helped bring this show out and other shows on Island Stats that actually has drawn a lot of people to open their eyes up and hear messages from other people and gain some knowledge and some experience as well. What about you?
Before I give the farewells and all that, as this show, I mentioned it last week, but this show, what it's done, we've talked, especially in local sporting areas, we're always talking in pockets. And I've been always saying if we was to come together collectively, you'd be surprised that a lot of the organizations have the same problems.
And that's what we've heard.
Because everybody talks in pockets and think they're isolated, that everybody has a different problem. Oh, well, and what happens now, because the ignorant, the person being ignorant, or the ignorance, I should say, oh, well, this sport, they're well taken care of, or that sport, they're well taken care of. Well, actually, no, they're not. But that's sometimes perception, and sometimes for some people, that perception is a reality. But once we start talking and get amongst people and get amongst each other, and these formats allow us, okay, once upon a time, we would have had to book all these, book a venue to try to get everybody together to have this forum and a round table talk where, okay, you know what? You got a laptop, you got a phone, you got an iPad. All right, here's the link, you get on and let's start talking. And you're going to see now that a lot of these meetings that I know that meetings that they used to have at the clubs, they'll probably be all done via this format. So in saying that, I'm always loved what you've done, not only reporting on the sport, but also we've been mentioning many times, telling our story. And that's the only way that we know going forward, the youth, the youngsters, the days of going to the library, going into the card catalog, and going into the aisle and picking up a book and reading the biography of Earl Basin. I hate to say this here, it's over. I don't know how much you're going to find, but it's over.
Nothing at all.
But I'm pretty sure if they Googled Earl Basin, they will have a lot to see. And my point is, obviously, if we're talking about the future, we're also talking about grassroots. Grassroots can also mean to speak the language of those that are in that age bracket. So this is a format that actually speaks to that age bracket. And I just hope going forward, shows like this and shows many more shows that you do have speak to not just the masters, not just the elites, not just the up and comings, but also the person who's sitting on the side and saying, you know what? If Earl could do it, I know I could do it.
Definitely.
And that's what sports. So the other thing I wanted to ask you, I know the answer, so it's a rhetorical question, but what sport or what event, because I might be surprised, what event did you actually miss that was canceled or postponed in 2020? What event?
Why would you say you would know the answer to it?
Wow.
To be honest, I missed
I might be surprised because you'd have been going to the Olympics.
Well, yes. You know what? To be honest, it's very difficult because every sporting event, something unique takes place. And that's what I look forward to. I see a lot of people go to a game or even in your field, a lot of people go to a party because Juggling Jay is playing.
Mm-hmm.
Some people go to a football game because so-and-so is playing. You know what I mean? And a lot of people will say, oh, are you going to the game of the day? Well, the game of the day is whatever game I show up to. That's the way I look at it. Mm-hmm. But I'm looking for something unique. And I think I get that each and every time I watch people doing a sport. So that's a very hard question to answer. But in reality, I you know, like a lot of people in Bermuda, it's hard to pinpoint what event you would miss. That good enough for you?
No, because I knew there's an answer there somewhere, but you know, you're trying to.
The answer was I missed them all.
Okay. Well, obviously for me,
What you miss?
Cup match, and that's for me. It's not just the broadcasting side of it because it's to bring that to people, but especially for our people around the world, Bermudians around the world, or even just the cricket enthusiasts around the world that we bring the game to them. But the leading up to Cup match, being around the clubs, being around the field, that morning, Earl, I'll tell you, Earl, this year was, now, as you know, Earl, shout out to the Third Field Committee, I believe it was called, the Third Field Committee down in Sleepy Hollow, where, they had a 2-day match. With the likes of former Captain Gennaro Tucker and former Captain Charlie Marshall. But that morning, because I would, as you know, Earl, we've been to the game together, especially covering Cup match. We know there what time? 7 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
That first day, I'm like, okay, I'm still home. That first ball, the noise before the first ball, the center around the field, first hour when everybody still thinks they can win, like St. George's, and then that second afternoon, that late afternoon, maybe you don't know who's gonna win. You see the ebbs and flows of sport, but that one particular event, tourists, you see. And where we're located, my broadcasting team, we're actually located next to a spot where the visitors be able to sit. So from time to time, I'll pease over, and you be seeing, you know, the locals explain the game.
Yeah.
You know, now,
Right over the head.
but what happens is that they also normally have a beverage in their hand.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know what.
Because in the afternoon, they can't understand the thing the person's saying.
So sometimes it might get lost in translation who I was trying to explain the game to him, because that might be a situation too, right? And it's funny because I don't want to call the person's name, but he's I'll just say he's a St. George's character. You know, you have St. George's characters.
Sure.
And he was explaining the game, and I looked at Shaw. Shaw looked at me like, "Oh, please, not him." Because you know it's not going to go well, right? But those are the things that we get at around the field. You know, you cover so many events. You hear all these armchair
definitely
critics, and yet, like, really, like you, like, you know. But once again, we're laughing at it because that's what it does, and those are the things that I really, really did miss in 2020.
Right. Well, Jay, before we go, we're going to be joined by one more.
Hey,
Lamont, turn your camera the other way. If you can.
Oh gosh.
Not that way. That one's black.
What are you using? Your phone?
No, my iPad.
Turn it. Oh, it's sitting on the pick it up and turn it to the side. You see how you're that's the wrong way. The other way. You're upside down, cousin.
All the way.
There you go.
Okay.
How's that?
Am I in the frame?
Yeah. You're good. Well, Lamont, I know you're a busy man, but obviously the major event, one of the major events missed this year was the Bermuda Day Half Marathon Derby, which you are the defending champion. But missing it this year, how did that go over for you, knowing the conditions that Bermuda was in?
It wasn't the absolute worst because you got to remember where we was at. I believe we was in shelter in place when it was canceled, and missing a race as opposed to people being made redundant, let off. That wasn't even. And for me, I want to say that it was the Olympics had been canceled prior to it. So
yes,
the four of us, like, it was. I mean, at that point in time, I knew the race wasn't going to be run, and I knew we had it all this in store for us. I knew it was a long road ahead until what we call normalcy, or returning to some point of what we formerly knew.
Right. When we came out of that shelter in place and we had some form of return to sport, you helped to put together a few events at the National Sports Center. You had some of the top athletes doing some events. How did you think that ran over?
Well, experience that I've been in that position. I know what it's like to be fit and not to have the races, not to have those opportunities. So even like with Grant being a thrower, it's like just get out there and throw. Like, even if you don't get that personal best, you don't hit that standard, don't let that rust set in. So at least to provide a venue, an opportunity, even if it's 5 or 10 of us just there watching, competing. And I mean, like I said, I wasn't. That's the smallest block of training I've ever done. I mean, I wasn't in any form of shape, but I knew that others were. So I said, okay, but at least to try and provide some opportunity for them. And even moving forward, they canceled, I want to say, race weekend sometime in maybe November, December.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, well, maybe train a little bit for that. And because I think they had it, what was it called? The Mile Reloaded?
Yes.
So now I haven't heard proposed.
Well, they're waiting for the return to sport to give people the opportunity to do some training to prepare for it, and then have the qualifiers, and then have that. But that was the plan.
Right. Yeah, and that's tough because I mean, prior to all this, it's like everything's clockwork. You know, okay, it takes me 8 weeks to get in shape, another 2-3 weeks to sharpen, tape it on for a week or two, and then I go. But if you're saying, okay, you know, you want to be training in a holding pattern, and it's nothing like you can do race simulations, but I don't know, it's hard, man. I mean, for me, I totally understand it because athletes across the globe have lost a whole lot worse because just looking at a whole lot of different people in different venues. I remember an athlete in particular in Spain. Now, they was indoors for months, like talking about couldn't leave. You had to, it was basically like they was in shelter in place. You could only leave for essential services. So they physically couldn't even train. So I'm sure they were putting on weight. The mental health was kind of, you know, very, even though it might not show, it's, you know, because if all you know as a professional athlete, you go to training camps and then you compete. That's your moneymaker. That's how you feed your family. That's what you know. Or you've been doing it 10, 15 years. Someone, let's say like Tyrone Smith, who's been his first Olympics was 2008?
Yeah.
Beijing, maybe? So somebody like him, we're talking about just years of just a same program, bang, bang, you're hitting. So it was like looking at those athletes, then on the flip side, seeing other athletes hook up with whoever is in the region and getting people to maybe do a time trial. If there's no one at that level running, I saw some guys get people on a push bike and just sit on that push or motorbike, anything, just because obviously you can work out the pace to miles per hour or kilometers and say, look, I want to hit, 10, 15 miles per hour for, 5-10 minutes or whatever it be. So it's definitely proven to be challenging because you're still training in what we call training in the dark.
Yeah. Jay?
Yeah, Lamont, you mentioned it earlier. We were talking about, especially with athletes during this COVID period, the state of unknown, what it does for the athlete mentally. You mentioned earlier how you prepare for an event, whether it's 8 weeks of training and you say a couple of weeks to sharpen and then take but going forward, 2021, what are your aspirations as far as the events bearing that they're going to take place in 2021? What are some of the events you're looking forward to next year?
I would put it, I would train as maybe like a 5K athlete, but I would see in an Olympic, it's different because in an Olympic year, you always have to pick an Olympic event. And the event that favored me most was the steeplechase. Mm-hmm. Now I had niggling injuries that didn't sideline me with my Achilles because I always had the same lead leg and sort of land leg. So now the steeplechase, that's 7 barriers or 5 barriers per lap for 7 laps. So 35 times in a race, you're landing on the same Achilles. Mm-hmm. Now, even though I'm obviously light, my race weight might just be like 140 pounds. It's still on tired legs. That one last lap or two, you might land funny and you might not feel it in the race. You might finish strong, but you might. So it was definitely, for me, I felt that the steeplechase, I could pencil in maybe 2 or 3 races towards the end of my season. Like, let's say from January to April, I would have done predominantly 3K and 5K flat. And then May, June, just pick 2 or 3 races to say, I'll just give it all to the steeplechase. So I won't be training all year round and landing on that Achilles. So for me, definitely I penciled in for 2021. I don't know, it might just clear up as soon as maybe February, March. So I might still be able to do that. So I'm just trying to keep myself mentally and physically prepared. So if they give me the green light in March, April, I can train. I'll be in race shape or as close to possible. So for me, I would say definitely steeplechase.
Well, I got to commend you because I do see you out there, especially running along Palmetto Road and up by the Arboretum. I was telling her, I said, was that Lamont? You know, but I'm saying, okay, is nobody raised, nobody running? I wonder if it's a dog chasing them sometimes. I'm like, oh, what's going on? But I'm saying, man, through all of this, I mean, it becomes part of a lot of you elite athletes, and I definitely say elite athlete. It becomes part of your nature. You just have to get out there and do it regardless.
It's really difficult now because, like you said, training in the dark, it's like you don't know what maintenance training is because I've never done it in my life. I've always trained to compete. So competing for me is 90 miles a week. So now if I just want to say, okay, well, I know nothing's happening for the next 6 months, how much or how little do I do? Is 50 miles a week good enough? Is 60? Is 30? So it's like right now, in anticipation of everything sort of coming to we opening the borders back and getting something, because some people have meets. We did have some meets last month and this month that I saw. Very quiet, but for me, once laying out all the formality, I saw like the pre-test, the arrival tests. You have to get most races IAAF sanctioned. I think they was asking the meet directors for 2 negative tests within 48 or 72 hours of the meet.
Right.
And in the States, I was hearing prices as high as what, $200-300 a test. So now you're going, your tickets $400, 2 tests, hotel. So you're like, for you to get one chance, $1,000, $1,200. Like it's like, come on, it's not, So mentally, you're like, okay, wow, that's scratch. So really, it's looking like if I anticipate April, May things, I get that shot. I want to still be doing 90 miles a week and doing, even if it's time trials. I have Dej here and anybody. Chris is back in shape. Like I said, the last time trial I did, this was when the National Stadium had been closed to all sports, but the equestrian center was in whatever it was, half a mile or a kilometer of my house. So I did a time trial with my father on the push bike. So I can even, like, I have those sort of options to say, okay, well, what's the closest I can get to a race? So I'm definitely going towards that avenue in anticipation that things just might, you never know, you might clear up.
Right.
You mentioned something, Lamont, just now, and I was wondering, because I've not really heard anybody do it, but you mentioned something just now. Have you guys, and I say you guys, Chris, Dej, and you guys, and say, you know what? Today, let's go do this course and compete against ourselves.
Of course, yeah. That's scheduled for maybe like next month, early February, something like that. Yeah, because it's only a few of us, so it's
Sean. Well, I know Sean's on the island, but like Sean, Dej, and you guys, say we're going to do this course today. Well, let's say princess to princess run for the sake of argument. There's only 5 of you, so you're in the allowance.
And that's exactly what it is. And it's even if it was a race, like you just said, let's say princess to princess usually has 400 or 500 people. How many are out front within a minute or 2 of each other? It's gonna be like you just said, a few of us. So yeah, we're definitely pencil dirty, and just so that everybody can keep in shape and keep some form of a race.
So you say 90 miles you want to do to get in shape, but do you train differently for a track race? Because you're talking about steeplechase as opposed to a road race.
No. Track it's more or less the distance, because obviously 5,000 meters or 5K on the road is the exact same distance. But for me, I usually train every day. I train up the Arboretum, so that's cross country, and then like I do heels up there, and then I do track work. So let's just put next week. I know I have I think Monday is heels, and then it might be heels up the Arboretum, and then mile repeats on the track on Wednesday. So now I'm getting the best of both worlds. So if I have a road race that encounters heels, I'm got it. If it's a track meet, it's the same thing. So you're getting the best of both worlds. So for me, I'm on my regular training schedule that I would have been regardless of COVID. I'm back to just training regular 90 miles a week, long runs, all that, just in anticipation for a few time trials next month in February, and just hopefully things open up in spring, maybe summer, something. You never know.
Right. You did mention that in an Olympic year, you kind of gear yourself up to do things a little different. Everybody wants to know Bermuda Day, half marathon, derby. Although it's an Olympic year, would you still try to win that?
I never see with me. It never hurts to sign up. So let's say I sign up today. I can pull out, or I can just not even show up on the morning. I always show up. I'm sorry, sign up. If I don't run on the day, so be it. But yeah, that's always. And for me, just in terms of memorabilia, now when you're the defending champion, you get your number 2, because they retired from the late Sir Stanley Burgess. They retired number 1 to him. So I like to keep those sort of. I would register if I'm ever the defending champ. I would always sign up so I can get number 2, and I keep those things. So yeah, I would always sign up, and for me, I would always debate racing, and like you said, like for this year, if the borders are what I say closed, I mean, if they force that vaccine on you, or if they say, oh, you got to take 2-3 tests before each test is $200-$300, I'm not gonna go because it's just not worth it. So if that's the case, I would be kind of forced to run May 24th. But if not, no, because I know it's a series that's on from mid-May to like mid-June. So even I might not even be here. Like if I'm focusing on the steeplechase, I know it was one May 14th, the 29th, and like June 5th. So I might not even be here, or just that. Now May 24th is really what, the last Friday now?
Last Friday of May, yeah.
The chances, if the borders are open and we get that sort of normalcy back, 9 times out of 10, I won't even be here, because I have that relationship with the meet director already, and this is with guy Dave Milner out of Nashville. That's where I broke the steeplechase national record and qualified for Commonwealth. So I would always go back to his meet because I have that relationship with him, and that's June 5th. So I would I've always been in contact with him. So for me, if everything's back to normal, I would definitely focus on the steeplechase, because it's both on that exact same weekend. So I wouldn't have the option of doing both.
Right. Well, whatever you decide, however this pandemic actually turns us into whatever in 2021, we'll be waiting with anticipation, because I would love to see you in Tokyo representing Bermuda at steeplechase. I think that will actually cap off a wonderful career. I'm not saying that it's over, but it actually would kind of put icing on the cake.
Definitely, yeah. And the track, I mean, like you said, I mean, if it's a run May 24th, you feel like running that, and an Olympic year, you feel like running that. So it's just all within the sport. So yeah, it's definitely I've gotten the most excitement now since the pandemic, because I'm still able to train and go up the track, and I have that hope. That's all I need. It's just, if it's hope that it can possibly get back to normal, that's all I need, just to train and keep my mind focused.
Right. Well, we want to wish you all the best in 2021. Stay healthy, stay safe. I know you have a very critical job, so we want to wish you all the best, and we'll stay in touch with you to ensure that the Bump Marshal is getting everything he needs in order to fulfill his dreams of doing what he wants to do in 2021. Okay?
All right. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate your time. We'll be back with more Island Stats Sports Show after this message from our sponsor.
Go Macro started up at the beginning of the millennium in Wisconsin in the U.S. with macrobiotic farming in mind, motivated by the pursuit of health through balanced nutrition. Go Macro is a family-owned company dedicated to living and promoting a natural, whole food-based lifestyle. Like most whole food businesses, Go Macro is also dedicated to bringing you the flavors they love. This month, we're featuring Go Macro Vegan Organic Granola and Coconut, Sunflower Seed Butter and Chocolate, and Coconut Almond Butter Chocolate Chip Macro Bars. Lindos, why go anyplace else?
Well, Jay, it's time to wrap it up.
You've been full of surprises. So, any more? Like, who else is coming through door number 2?
I was trying to get Barack Obama, but he told me he was busy.
Michelle told you he was busy.
Right. I put in a quote to Donald, but he is too busy tweeting. So
he's been playing golf. You remember who got there on the coast, bro? What a year! What a year! What a year!
Yeah,
Hey,
but
that
I
was
appreciate you,
hear
brother.
from Lamont because Earl, even though he's not a professional athlete, he surely goes about his life as a professional, doesn't he?
And that's why he's been successful in what he's been able to accomplish for us. You know, as an athlete, whether you be amateur and or professional, you gotta act in a professional manner all the time in order to get what you gotta get out of yourself. And you know, listening to his father talk years ago, listening to his brother talk, listening to him talk, they've always set themselves up as if they were full-time professionals. Now everybody knows you gotta work, you gotta go to work, you gotta do that. But you know what? If I want to be successful, I have to sacrifice this and put in this amount of time, this amount of effort.
You hear the plans,
Mm.
you know, whether it's on or off the field, or you say, but you hear the plans, you hear the scheduling, you hear the what needs to be done, you hear the attention to detail when it comes to his body, you hear the attention to detail when it comes around events, you know, what it's going to take to this. You hear the sacrifice. You know, and these are the things, once again, we've always said, once again, if we get these stories out like we're going, and more people, you'd be surprised, Earl, how much it can inspire the next person. Because, okay, I didn't know that about Lamont before. You know what I'm saying? Can't wait. Man, I can't wait to 2021.
All right, well, brother, you have a wonderful day tomorrow, the final day of 2020.
Yes.
Let's kick it out and bring in the 2021 year with a lot of hope that things get back to normal as quickly as possible and we get a resumption of not only sports, but a way of life.
Yes.
For everyone. Okay?
Can't wait.
Yes, sir.
Cheers.
Enjoy the rest of your night.